Good morning, everybody. I think the very fact that all of you have taken the time to be here this morning means that you care about road safety. So before I start, maybe if I might ask you to kindly close your eyes for a few seconds. Just a few seconds, just close your eyes and just think of your loved ones at home. What would their life be like if you were not around anymore? Surely the picture doesn't look good. And that's why it's important for us to embrace road safety, as Richard said. And the most important thing, as far as the family is concerned, our kids. Our kids think their parents can fix everything. The question is, what if you cannot help your kids anymore? What if you cannot carry your child anymore? Would your life be the same? With one arm, one leg, or perhaps no legs at all? Road safety is a public health issue. One of the top 10 reasons for deaths across the world. And road accidents are the number one killer for age group 30 and below. Every day, more than 3,500 people lose their lives due to road accidents, which is about 1 million people dying every year. And by comparison, we see the news, the Russian-Ukraine war every day on TV. The death toll in that war since the start in 2022 is about 250,000. I think another interesting point for us to note is that in the Western world, road deaths due to accident range between 2 to 3 per 100,000 population. And compared to emerging markets, where rates average around 25 per 100,000 population, which is nearly 10 times more. And the global average is around 15 deaths per 100,000 population, where Africa has the highest death rate, while Europe has the lowest. So we need to understand why this gap, or why can't this gap be bridged? If the Western world can do it, why can't emerging markets and other countries follow suit? The question is very simple. It's a question of building that discipline, educating people, making people understand the dangers of being on the road and for not obeying the rules. Here in the UAE, the death toll has come down to about 5 deaths per 100,000. It used to be a decade ago more than 15 or 20 per 100,000. But now we are seeing here about 5 deaths per 100,000. And this has happened due to improvements in education, enforcement, road infrastructure, and also post-crash response. The ability to get people to the hospital in the shortest possible time is indeed a big factor in reducing the number of deaths. As Richard had said, 3 people die every minute due to road accidents in the world. So by the time I finish my presentation here, in about the next 30 minutes, 90 people would have died due to a road accident anywhere in the world. And think about it. This could be anybody. Family member, a friend of anyone in this room or in any part of the world. But I'm here to tell you there's good news. And the good news is that all accidents are preventable. More than 90% of accidents are caused by human error. And the rationale is very simple. We are humans and people make mistakes. But on the other hand, nobody wants to die. So how do we bridge that gap? And I believe changing habits is a great way to get started. Let me just run through some common causes of accidents, especially here in the UAE. The number one is distracted driving, taking your eyes off the road. According to the traffic police here in the UAE, 75 to 80% of road deaths here and severe injuries is due to the use of mobile phones while driving. Did you know that your risk increases more than 400% if you take your eyes off the road even for just 1 second? And I have a question for all of you, which you need to keep this in your mind. Would you think of answering that phone if your child was crossing the road? And that's how important it is for you to change. You can listen to me, take it from this year and go the other side, and nothing will change. But unless it connects emotionally, unless you connect to your heart, it's very difficult to change habits. But that doesn't mean that you cannot change habits. You have to make that effort. And it's only the initial days that are tough to change an old habit. But once you get used to it, I think it comes automatically. And the simple solution, if I may give you, for trying to avoid this habit is simply switch off your phone. We have a slogan in our company: engine on, phone off. That's a slogan for everybody. Before they start their engine, they need to switch off the phone. That makes it easy. You don't get tempted by your phone ringing while you're driving because the tendency is answer the phone. But if you keep it switched off, there's no pressure. And life goes on. Maximum journeys are not too far here in the UAE. And I think for me, the important thing here today is many of you in this room, even if just 10% in the audience today make this change, I would rate this session as a success. Number two, speeding. Recommendation for you is to drive within the speed limits. Speed limits are there for a reason. You know, your chances increase by 100% if you just cross the speed limit by 20 kilometers an hour. That's the impact. You overspeed the speed limit declared on the road by just 20 kilometers. 80, you drive 100. Your chances of an accident go up 100 times. And this is one of the reasons why we talk about safe distance, keeping a safe distance. We've all seen people tailgating on the roads, but that is really reckless and it does not give you a time to react. And it has been scientifically proven by the time you see something in front of you, for the brain registers it. And then it has to move to your legs being able to press the brake. It takes about 6 seconds. And that is why you must have heard of the 6-second rule in driving. Maintaining a safe distance, that you always have a time to react. If something happens in front of you, you need about 6 seconds to react by the time you're able to apply the brakes. It's also very important to obey the road rules. They are there for a reason. They're there to protect your lives. And unless you respect something, you will never benefit from it. For example, red signals. Do not cross red signals. And let me give you another example of signals. You may find yourself many times standing at a traffic junction. You are waiting because the light is red. And when the light turns green, many people have a tendency to just shoot off. But that's not defensive driving, because if somebody on the other side is crossing a red light, you are for a head-on collision. And this is what defensive driving is about. The answer for that is always wait, look on either side before you go, even though the light is in your favor. It's just a matter of being defensive about your position. It gives you a chance. You get a few extra seconds before somebody else crashes into you. And of course, it's needless to say, do not cross red signals. Sometimes you're in a hurry, you see the amber light and you're tempted to cross it. Please do not cross a red light because that could be disastrous. Also, weather conditions. Cause of accidents here in the UAE, you've seen some extreme weather conditions here. Avoid taking to the roads during adverse weather conditions. Another common phenomena that we've seen here is road rage. People get upset with each other. You go in somebody's way, the immediate reaction is they honk or they give you trouble or hard looks. Signs. My advice to you in that kind of situation, avoid eye contact. That's the simplest and best way to avoid a controversy or an argument, even though both people are in different cars. But avoid eye contact. Don't look straight ahead. That will help you to immediately cool down the situation. And needless to say, seat belts. Have you heard the saying that seat belts save lives? That is indeed very, very true. And let me give you one instance. We are a company, we preach a lot of road safety. We believe in road safety. We live road safety from morning to night. We sleep road safety. And yet, we lost one of our senior general managers in a road traffic accident. And let me tell you how it happened. This is a common false notion that people have. He was sitting at the back of a four-wheel drive. He was sitting at the back. And since he was sitting at the back, he probably took it easy with not wearing a seat belt. Somewhere down the road, that vehicle crashed. And out of 5 occupants in the car, he was the only one who flew through the windscreen and died on the spot. He flew. But that is the impact of not having a seat belt in an accident. To make it a point, today we also have a campaign where we try to get this to parents and adults through the best influences in their families, and that is their children. We have campaigns in the schools where we take road safety to school children. And one of the first things that they are taught is not only traffic rules, but wearing seat belts. For us, that idea is also so they can influence their parents. Many parents drive their children to school. So that's one way of making sure, because when your child tells you something, for sure you will listen. As I told you before, they are very influential children with their parents. So that's one way of getting this message across. And of course, the last one I want to talk about, which is about 12% of reasons for road deaths here in the UAE, and that is driving under the influence of alcohol. Do not drink and drive, even if you think you are sober. Alcohol does not mean that you have to be drunk, but alcohol impairs, slows down your reaction time. In an event of an emergency, your brain needs to be at full alert. Your reflexes, your responses has to be on full alert. And this is why the reason is not to drink or be under the influence of drugs. And when I say drugs, even normal medication, Many people take medications, and if medications sedate you, they impair your ability to react. So please take care. These are small things, but very important when you are driving. Let me just talk a little bit about safety at TriStar. TriStar was born out of a need for road safety here in the UAE. In 1998, this company was set up. I set up this company. And there's one thing important why I'm making this point is that safety on one side protects lives, it's good, you're not a hazard on the road, you don't cause damage to the others. But I want for you to look at safety from a different perspective. And especially like in our case, safety drives business success. We started off with 3 trucks, used trucks. That's how we started in 1998 here in the UAE. Today we operate in over 30 countries across the world. And that success is come because everybody sees us as a reliable, trustworthy partner. And that's important. So when we look at driving safety, safety is also business success. Stay committed to safety in operations. And this is why it is important to have safety leadership right at the very top. Without leadership, safety commitment at the top, safety will not work. It has to be driven from the top. Otherwise, you will never build the culture. It's again a culture where everybody understands the reason what you do. Like, for example, if the CEO comes to work without wearing a seatbelt and everybody sees him, not many people are going to wear seatbelts. Of the CEO violating some safety issues, nobody is going to follow him. So he needs to lead by example. And that's what we call visible and felt leadership. The leadership has to walk the talk. If all of you are leaders in the company, in your companies, it starts with you. Responsibility starts with you and ends with you. In my job as CEO, one of the things I dread the most is that call coming in the night somewhere at odd hours saying there's an accident and somebody has died. Because that for me is my biggest fear. And many people ask me, what keeps me awake at night? This is something that keeps me awake. To make that call to that family. In the case of our general manager, it took me more than 1 year to get his mother and his sister, who was actually a PhD doctor, come back to normal. She used to call me and she used to say, TriStar killed my brother. That's how bad it was. They were mentally distraught. And more than a year before they started to come down. This is why I asked you to close your eyes so that you can imagine and you can experience what it is like when you lose a loved one. And these issues, what I'm talking about, are all within our control. So let me just share you what we did, what are the disciplines and how our safety management system is built at the company. We call it 4 E's, which is education, engineering, enforcement, and evaluation. Our education starts with the drivers we recruit. It starts from the very basics. We have a policy for recruiting drivers. We don't normally recruit anybody who's under the age of 25 because they tend to be reckless. And of course, on the top side, we don't recruit people over 60 because that's close to retirement age. Secondly, we need to have the minimum experience. There's no point in getting a guy who got a license today and giving him a petrol tanker, which is a time bomb in itself. So we need to ensure that they have sufficient experience of driving. And the other thing that a lot of industries or companies don't do is to ensure that their drivers are medically fit. There are many drivers who have health problems which are not disclosed, which you don't understand at the time of recruitment. but they could be candidates who could get an attack or a heart attack at any given time. So making sure people are medically fit is very important. And the only way you can do that is periodic checks. We also have our own golden rules, what we call 5S. I will explain to that in due course. But those rules mean termination if you fall. So we are very strict also. On one side, we try to encourage and get people to change by being nice, by being kind, by giving the message the right way, talking to them about consequences. But at the same time, we need to enforce a discipline. Anybody breaking our golden rules, there's 5 and they're simple. And speeding is one of them. No speeding at all. And of course, wearing seat belts, because seat belts do save lives. We also have a simulator. Before, at the time of recruitment, we put drivers through a simulator to check their aptitude. How good a driver could this guy be? Is he a wolf in sheep's clothing? Could he be a reckless driver? Could he have any other reckless habits? So this is what the simulator gives us, and which we can work on training those habits or the poor habits of them. Enables us to check on the competency level of the driver. Handling a tanker with liquids and driving a tanker with liquids is not easy. And the simulator also allows us to simulate real positions. For example, we live in the Middle East. What are the conditions like in a dust storm? So the simulator enables us to allow the driver to experience those kind of conditions, or in heavy rain, or in any other situation, and real traffic scenarios where there is a lot of traffic or heavy traffic on the roads. This simulator enables the driver to navigate all those. So that before he actually starts to work with us, we get a fairly good idea of his abilities. And this also gives us a biometric database. So as the driver career progresses with us, we have a database to see how is he improving. Is he improving or is he deteriorating? And this is what gives us that information. And then again, I think we work on something that is close to the driver's heart, and that is the emotional connect. It's all about hearts and minds. I think very simple is nobody wants to die. Most of the heavy duty drivers here or other parts of the world, they drive for a living. They're the breadwinners in their family. So we need to remind them why they are in this profession and what it means for their families back home. And once they understand those consequences, the responsibility riding on their shoulders, they're the first ones to change. It's only the challenge is to get across to them in the right way so that they can understand, they appreciate, and they embrace whatever we are trying to tell them. So the hearts and minds is a very powerful tool if you want to drive safety in your organizations. Get people to connect inside. Putting them in a classroom and talking, that's not going to do much. It's useful. But the real change happens when people connect with inside. They're the breadwinners of their families. Simple question, what happens if you're not here? Who is going to support your wife and children? And that one question changes everything, changes their perspective, changes their views on how they see their job of driving. Because in the old days, drivers used to get license and just speed. It was a license to speed. We used to see the number of accidents from here to Abu Dhabi was a famous road where you would see so many rollovers, accidents, car crashes. Today, you don't see anything. And that's the advancement the UAE has made in managing road deaths. Also, we have regular, periodic, quarterly safety meetings across the company so that everybody participates. It's a question of building the culture, making sure that people understand that this is cared by the company, by the leadership, by everybody. So it's not a safety meeting only for drivers. Everybody participates. And that collective coming together makes a big difference. We have the police coming. Police give demonstrations, give lessons, teach the people, and it also builds an interaction with the traffic police. People are no more scared when they see a police. They understand the reason they're there. and they're there for drivers' protection. We also have reward and recognition programs. If drivers are doing well, for example, we have something called a no accident bonus every year for drivers not had any accident, whether it's his fault or not his fault. Because when we talk about not his fault, that's when our defensive driving training comes into play. Defensive driving training is to prevent any type of accident. It is not to say it's not my fault. I talked to you about the traffic signal thing. There are several other areas of defensive driving. So that prevents any accident, anticipating what can go wrong and taking preventive action. And also we have our customers attending. Again, they come to motivate the drivers. It's a big motivation for all the drivers. When they see management, when they see customers, when they see the police, it builds up the momentum. It builds that culture. And that is what is needed. Dubai police have a goal here for 0 deaths for 100,000. And believe me, they can achieve it. And we believe that goal 0 is possible. All accidents are preventable. Everybody has to keep that in mind. Accidents all are preventable. But we need to make the effort. Dubai has come down from 20 odd in 20 years ago to now 5. And soon you will see them reaching 0. In Europe, Norway, Sweden, they're all at about 2. So it's not an impossible task, but you have to build the ecosystem. It's not only with the people, the driving, the vehicle, the road infrastructure, post-crash response, ability to get to hospitals in time. It's all part of the system, and you can see the UAE. Today, I think by the time the police reach an accident site and by the time you get to hospital is one of the shortest times because so well they're structured. The ecosystem, the infrastructure is all in place. It takes one app or one press of a button and you'll have an ambulance coming right there fast. And that's what's important for this. And I talked about defensive driving training. You need to look out for hazards on the road. For example, many times you may be driving, you may be seeing some people, pedestrians standing on the side of the road. Don't think nothing about it. They might decide to cross any time. So you need to slow down. You need to be prepared. In this picture, can you see that blue car there? That is the danger. That is the danger. That driver could come onto the main road anytime. And this is what it is about, identifying hazards. So we need to also be mindful of the happenings around us. So all vehicles that are parked on the side of the road or people waiting on the side of the road could be a potential hazard. Roadworks. Many times you go through the same road, but roadworks normally happen in the night time. So next morning when you come, maybe the road has been opened up for some road work. So never take it for granted. You need to always ensure that you are prepared for these kind of conditions. Things can happen which you will not. Don't be overconfident. And this is one of the things I want to talk to you about, overconfidence. That's my next slide. This is what we call 3 C's that you don't see. You don't see carelessness. Focus on the job. Don't be careless. Concentrate on what you're doing. If you are driving, concentrate on your driving. I talked about distractions. Don't get distracted with doing other things. Compromise. Don't take shortcuts. Safety is an obligation that cannot be achieved on a do-it-tomorrow basis. If there is something that needs to be done that has got a safety risk on it, do it immediately. Don't postpone it. And this is when things go wrong, when a safety requirement is neglected or postponed. And lastly, the last C is complacency. When you're doing the same job every day, you tend to be overconfident. And this is when the issue starts. Every job has to be treated as the first time. Focus on it. Don't be overconfident and don't take it easy. And the next what I have is about engineering and vehicle management. And apart from the human side, we also need to make sure our equipment is in good shape. We don't want, in our case, it's all heavy vehicles with carrying dangerous petroleum products. We saw what happened 2-3 months ago in Saudi. Many of you may have seen the news when a petrol tanker crashed into a bus carrying pilgrims. 45 people died on the spot, actually burned to death. 3-4 years ago in Pakistan, the same thing. A petrol tanker overturned on its side, petrol started flowing. And you know how petrol is like gold in emerging markets. Everybody started coming with buckets and cans and collecting petrol. And somebody in the crowd decided to have a smoke. And that was it. 250 people died in one shot. When an Air India bus aircraft crashed, 200 people died. In a truck crash like this, 250 people died. But that's how serious it is. And this is why it's important to understand, especially for us, the dangers of carrying flammable petroleum products. It's not something that to be taken lightly. Many times, many of us drive into a petrol station. Why do they tell you not to use a phone in a petrol station? Or why do they tell you not to smoke? For various reasons. Vapors. You might not see the liquid, but that petrol station is full of vapors. You smell it, right? When you go to a petrol, you get the smell of petrol. That's the vapor. And that's explosive. Somebody lights a flame, it just can blow up. And the same thing, telephones. They tell you not to use your phone because of static electricity. When your phone rings and you put it on, that generates static electricity. Many times when your car is filling, have you gone in and out of your car at that time? Do you feel sometimes when you touch the handle, when you're coming back, you get a shock? That is static electricity building up. When you get out of your car and you try to get, sometimes you get a slight shock on your hand. But these are all the signs that you need to be careful so that you don't have an unpleasant experience. We also have free inspection of our vehicles. Every vehicle is inspected before it goes out of the gate. We have anti-lock braking systems. So if the driver is late in braking, this brakes automatically. Today, all vehicles are very much advanced. In a couple of years, we'll see driverless vehicles. That's the next advancement that's coming. All the heavy trucks will be driving without drivers. So the technology is improving. The precision is getting better. But at the same time, I think at the end of the day, you'll take still some time to rely on humans, to human involvement, human engagement. And another weak point of the trucks is the tires. Many of us go and hire a car. But do we check before we get into the car and drive off? Do you check as that agency check the tires? Are the tires, many people to save costs, they delay changing the tires. But remember, don't play around with your tires, especially in the hot summer months we have. If your front tires burst, you won't be able to control your car. Even if you're driving at 80 or 100, you won't be able to control. It will go over. Make sure that always, I think you get fines if the police come and see your cars less than 3 millimeters of depth, tread depth, you get fined. There's a reason for that, because they want people to understand that the tires have to be in good condition, because it starts with your tires. They're the first soft target. And of course, handrails and things is what we promote to prevent falls from heights. When drivers go up on top of a tanker, it could be dangerous. They could have a fall and break an arm or a leg. So we have the handrails to protect that. We're in the business of moving petroleum products. So these are liquids. And liquids have a tendency to move in between a vehicle, especially if the vehicle turns left or right. And especially if the liquid is not filled right up to the top. The center of gravity moves. It shifts between left to right. And when the center of gravity shifts, you see the vehicle starts to turn on its side. It rolls over. So the rollover warning device gives an advance indication to the driver on the dashboard that your vehicle is tilting, your center of gravity is shifting. So the immediate thing is for him to slow down. And this is the same thing you see tankers and big trucks turning over and falling on their side at roundabouts. At roundabouts is a very dangerous area for big trucks. You have to manage your speed. Not more than 10 to 15 kilometers is what we recommend at a roundabout to keep the stability. I think I talked about tires. Okay, let me talk about fatigue management. This is an area that a lot of people don't focus on. Drivers are also human beings, especially people who operate big transport fleets. Driver is there only to be beaten to keep running around the clock. Those were good old days. The old days, I won't say good old days. Those were old days. And this is one of the reasons drivers are fatigued. They're tired. They're also human beings. They cannot work 24 hours a day. They cannot drive 24 hours a day. But business owners, for the sake of the business, saving costs, you push these guys to keep on driving. And a lot of time, drivers are overtired. They start to doze on the wheel. And then when things can go wrong, we have cameras and we have fatigue monitoring devices on all trucks. And we also have our 24/7 monitoring office. If we see that a driver is dozing, a normal blink rate of the eyelids is 15 to 20 blinks per minute. But if it starts to slow down, if it goes to 30 to 60, the alarm goes off. Driver is fatigued. The driver is dozing, is drowsy. So that alarm alerts the people in the control room so they can immediately call. We also have the seat that gives him a jerk. If he's crossing that, if more than 30 blinks per minute, the seat vibrates, wakes him up. Because I told you, you take 1 second, you lose your focus on the road and something can go wrong. So that's what we call a micro sleep. Anything more than from half to 2 seconds is called a micro sleep. So if the driver gets into that, our seat vibrates to wake him, to jolt him back. Also, I think another thing, especially for fleet owners, everybody likes to run their fleet to the maximum age, but that's not a good sign. A big truck, when it breaks down on the road, is a hazard to other road users. Is a hazard. And we've seen many times vehicles coming and crashing because vehicles have stopped at unauthorized places. They're not supposed to be there. But if a vehicle breaks down on a main thoroughfare, that poses a hazard. And so having the vehicle in good condition should not break down. I talked about tires, I talked about maintenance. You need to make sure that you have a fleet replacement policy. We don't run our vehicles for more than 10 years to make sure that we keep replacing our fleet. All fleet should be under 10 years. In addition, periodic servicing, oil change, tire pressures have to be at optimum. And yes, pre-driver checklist, inspection of tires. Another good thing that we do is, if you see the second picture, is the alcohol blow meter. They check the drivers at the gate before they're going, because drivers over the weekend, maybe don't know if they've been consuming alcohol or not. So an alcohol blow meter at the gate is a must. This is our journey management office. This is the 24/7 where all the fleet, we operate more than 1,000 fleet, I think, here in the UAE. And all fleet are fitted with the inboard vehicle monitoring systems. So we manage the fatigues and we also manage the violations. If a driver is violating anything, even if his speed, we will come to know immediately. If he's not wearing a seatbelt, we will come to know. If he talks on the phone, we will come to know. So this is a way for us to monitor, to ensure compliance. In addition to getting the drivers to comply, we have an additional level of comfort that we monitor this. I talked about journey management. Again, ensuring that the drivers get proper rest every day. We don't allow more than 8 hours of continuous driving every day. And that 8 hours is split between 2 periods, 4 hours continuous, break of 30 minutes, and another 4 hours. And they all have to have a compulsory 24 hours off day every week. So we don't allow them to work overtime or do anything. Everybody has to have a break. And rest stops, we also have authorized rest stops. They're not allowed to stop anywhere which is not authorized. So we are always aware where the vehicle is. How do we reward people? I talked about the accident-free bonus. They got various reward and recognitions, driver league systems. All drivers in the top performing 10 or 15 are rewarded. We also empower drivers by giving them a stop work card. You see the red card? That is an empowerment right from the top. If a supervisor asks the driver to do something which in the driver's opinion is not safe, the driver can refuse by taking out his card. Because sometimes supervisors ask the drivers or push them to do something just to get their job done. But the driver has the right to refuse that. Again, every driver carries a what we call health, safety, and environmental passport. So at any time, any customer, anybody can see the record of the driver's performance over the last 10 years, 5 years, 15 years. Is record of traffic violations, disciplinary breaches, training records. So everything is available at first-hand view. These are golden rules. I spoke about 5S golden rules. Speeding, our maximum speed is 80 kilometers or whatever the road stipulates. Keeping a minimum safe distance is a must. Seat belts compulsory. And since we have big trucks and carrying a lot of dangerous petroleum products, they can only drive in the slow lane. They're not allowed to be in the fast lanes at all. And the speed at roundabouts, not more than 15 kilometers per hour. And how do we practice? Be ready in case there's an emergency. We have constant drills. We need to practice and perform because we know the products, we know the issues. When the traffic or emergency services come for an accident or an accident site, we are well prepared. We work with them, we conduct drills, emergency drills. Even the police and the ambulance, they don't know whether the drill happening. Only very few people know about it. And so we're testing how long does it take for an ambulance to reach an accident site? How long does it take for the fire brigade? None of them know. They just get a call. There's an accident here and they're supposed to be there. And normally within a couple of minutes, they're always there. Even they don't know what is happening. Of course, we also have checks and balances, measurement. We need to make sure that our systems are working. So we have regular frequent audits. We do about nearly 50, 60 audits by ourselves, by our customers, by regulatory bodies, by regulators, anybody else. So that the systems are working, gives comfort to everybody. There's an external extra pair of eyes looking at the systems. We also have especially an in-house mentor on a one-to-one to sit with drivers, talk to them, to encourage them. I think this is very important, the human touch. We have a driver mentor. I think next slide. No, next one. It's a driver mentor whose job is every day mix around with drivers, make them feel important. That's the whole idea. Just because he's a driver doesn't mean he's not an important member of the team. And I talked about reward and recognition. What about our near misses? Can you go to the next slide? Evaluation online. Yeah, I think this is what we have in measurement. These are the various systems that we have. Most of it is now online. Drivers can report incidents. They can report near misses. The near miss, what we call, is something that could have caused an accident but didn't result in an accident. And that's what we call as a near miss. Maybe the conditions had been different. The consequences could have been also different. So we try to learn from these near misses so that we don't repeat it again. And just to give you a quick snapshot, this is our record. This is the result. If you can see here, we have run nearly 600 million kilometers and without a single fatality. And this is why I say we believe in goal zero. All accidents are preventable. I would like to leave you with a small video, which I hope will impact you positively on why we are all here today. Thank you very much for listening.